yesterday's newspaper. Now, there is this article which we rushed through because of time, but don't want to rush through this particular article. This is an important article. We will be discussing more about it in the budget session, in the service session that we are going to have tomorrow. But this idea, you should have a fair idea what this talks about. Now, there is this mitigation versus adaptation strategy as a part of UPSC syllabus. You have to anyways do it, both for GS as well as economics optional, even for IAS. But there are two sides to this story. That should we, now that we have already breached, for the last 2 years we've already started breaching this 1.5 degree mark that we had set. And what developing countries are saying that is that the cost that you're imposing on us for 1.5 degree is too huge. Maybe we are not ready for it. Countries like India, maybe we are not ready for that. And maybe it's better for us to start thinking about adaptation. And since we do not have the resources, we'll try to adapt to a warmer climate. As compared to, say, the developing countries can still think about mitigation. They can work on the mitigation strategies. They have the funds, they have the technology, they have the resources. The developed countries can right now cannot take up this particular kind of burden. And all it says is that it also talks about the fact that the Kyoto Protocol, which was the initial protocol which put the heavy burden on the Annex 1 countries, which was these developed countries which were responsible for the historical emissions that they have done. That changed with the Paris Agreement and with the subsequent IPCC, whereby the burden was also now being shared by the developing countries. And the narrative has changed now. The narrative has changed from the developed countries taking the burden to a kind of a finance order, whereby even in global finances you would have that there are some top countries which will give money to these smaller countries. So this is something that has perpetuated that bias that is there. And the economic survey talks about multiple alternative approaches: the smart city, or the railways, or the life mission, because there is a chapter which talks about that we need to have healthy eating as part of our overall demeanor for climate change. In fact, we are going to read an article today. Let me go to that particular article as well. In the explained with this Paris Games, we are going to read two particular articles, especially on the explained page, which talks about that how Paris Games that we are going to have this year is going to be the most environment friendly game that we have ever had, Olympic that we have ever had. And it tries to be a positive a carbon positive game, rather than usually a carbon negative kind of a event. So, and one of the steps that they have taken is vegan food. And you'll be surprised to note that 18% of the world's emission of these greenhouse gases is because of your preference for dairy products and your preference for meat based products. So because when you're going to have so much of milk, so much of dairy products, and so much of meat products, you will require animals. These animals required to be raised on farms, and all of these animals are ruminating animals which emit methane. So they first require a huge amount of production of crops, and then while eating, they will also ruminate methane, gases like methane. So this is why they are very I mean it says that going vegan is helping the cause of climate change, but we'll come to that on a later point of time. Now, coming to this important article, this is a very important discussion that you should have a fair idea about. Now, I'm going to briefly give you the overview of the topic, and then it's your job to read it. Now, the Supreme Court has recently given a judgment, which is an 8-1 minority judgment. It's a beautifully crafted judgment, and both the dissenting side is beautiful, and the 8 side, and the author of the majority side, which is the Chief Justice of India, is also very nicely written. And at times, once you read this, you'll get confused that who's right and who's not right. These are the kind of things that are there. Now, let me explain this article to you through the explained page first. Power of the minds. Now, the thing is that there was this issue there are two issues basically. One is called entry 54 of list 1 of the union list, and then there is entry 50 of these list 2 of which is basically the state list. Now there is this problem that is there. Now the issue comes from the fact that there is something called royalty. Now first issue is that is royalty a tax or not? Now typically if and that's a very I agree with the judgment to that extent, is that is royalty a tax first of all. Now royalty can be, for example, these are my classes, we are attending my classes. Now suppose a individual comes, suppose a coaching institution comes and says that Siddharth, I want to take the video that you are making, and I want to use this video for current affairs for my particular class. For example, say Vajiram comes and says that I want to use your D3 morning lectures for my current affair classes. I said okay, you can do that. But since it's a product, it is my product, I am the owner and I am leasing this property to you. You ought to give me a royalty. Now is royalty a tax then? Because typically tax can be done by the state only, and it goes for the welfare of the public, or welfare of creation of public infrastructure or whatever. Basically it's for public needs. But royalty in that sense cannot be a tax, and this is what the Supreme Court first of all said this time, that royalty is not a tax. Now where does this issue came from? That the under the this thing under section 9 of Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act. You should be aware about this act, and you should have a fair idea about this act. There have been questions in the past in UPSC about this. Now they say that this section says that whosoever leases the conduct of mining activities pay a royalty to the mineral for any mineral removed to the individual or the corporation who lease them. Now if the state government is the leasing agency, then the does royalty form of a tax? Now there was a previous judgment on this. Now this is not a new issue. There was a previous judgment from Tamil Nadu, India Cement Limited versus Tamil Nadu, and this judgment heard this particular challenge of this particular company and said tax levied in addition to normally taxable amount on land revenues including royalties. So it basically says that Tamil Nadu government had what it had done is that the royalty was being asked by the government under the whatever the Mining Act and whatever the central notification is, but over and above that the Tamil Nadu government had imposed a cess on that. Now that cess is first of all you should know that cess is basically a charge that you are creating for a particular purpose. So you created a cess, and the court said that this particular cess is in form of a tax, and the state cannot do that. Now the court held that states could only have the power to collect royalties but not impose tax on mining. So this royalty because the MMDRA Act says that you can impose royalty and states can have royalty, but a cess on the royalty is a form of a tax, and this does not come under the power of the state because this is violative of entry 54 of the union list. Entry 54 of the union list basically talks about the fact that states do not have the power to impose further tax on a particular subject. So this is basically related to powers of the union government with respect to taxation. And then that particular judgment says that we are of the opinion that royalty is a tax, and in fact this should have been cess on royalty is a tax, and such a cess on royalty is beyond the competence of the state legislature. So this was the statement, royalty is a tax actually, and it is written there that this was an error in the judgment. Later on this should have been read as cess on royalty as a tax. Now this issue was so this issue was raised again, that is royalty as a tax, because you have confusion now, that one judgment says that royalty is a tax, and then there was another judgment from West Bengal which says, oh, there was a problem in the previous judgment which said royalty is a tax. Actually there was a typographical error, it should have been cess on royalty is a tax. Now this created a confusion. To solve this confusion, a new case had started, and which is now which is already now taken around 20-25 years, and now it has basically said on Thursday that royalty is not a tax because of this conceptual difference between royalty and taxes that I've told you. It could be done by a private sector. And what the courts have now found is that there is a second aspect, whether states have the power to tax mineral development, or such tax are solely in the provenance of the state under the MDMA. Now, this friction can again be traced to the 7th schedule, which gives you list 1, list 2, and list 3. Now, under the state list, states are given exclusive power to make laws relating to taxes on minerals subject to any limitations imposed by the parliament, by law related to mineral development, which is the MMDRA law. So basically entry 50 basically says of list 2 under schedule 7 says, boss, states can put a tax on minerals given given what are the provisions that are being given by the parliament in the MMDRA act. But entry 54 of the union list says that center has the power on regulation of mines and minerals to the extent to which it is declared by parliament by law to be expedient in public interest. So basically regulation of mines and minerals is in the hand of the central government. Now the issue comes that according to the India Cement position, the royalty that is collected by the state government under MD would be form of the tax. So basically that entire royalty is a tax, and that is basically then under the union government. However, the Mineral Development Authority held that royalty is not a tax. As a result, royalty will not be comprehended within the taxes on minerals, which basically says that if royalty is not a tax, see, understand this, if it is not a tax, it does not come under entry 50. If it does not come under entry 50, then that means the center through MMDRA act cannot even regulate it. This is a very important point. पहले मैं पूछ लूँ कि ये समझ में आया नहीं आया, क्योंकि this is a technical topic. We are talking about law now, and when we are talking about law, these are important issues. समझ में आया? Yes, no? देखो दो चीज़ें हैं, two important things, entry 50 of list 2 and entry 54 of list 1, दोनों में डिफरेंस समझो. वो पहले कह रहा है कि कोई भी अगर टैक्स लगाओगे, अगर आप इफ़ यू आर पुटिंग अ टैक्स on any particular mineral, the state government has the right to put that tax under entry 50 of list 2. But अब जब हम बोल रहे हैं कि रॉयल्टी टैक्स ही नहीं है, तो वो 50 वाला जो एंट्री है वो अप्लाई ही नहीं हो रहा. इफ़ दैट 50 एंट्री इज़ नॉट इवन बीइंग अप्लाइड, then that means the center cannot regulate it through the MMDRA act. This is the conceptual thing that needs to be understood, and as a result royalty will not be comprehended within the meaning of taxes on minerals, right, under entry 50. Effectively held that MMDRA only gives states another revenue stream through royalties and does not interfere with the state's power to tax under entry 50. Then but entry 50 allows the parliament to place any limitations. So कोई अगर सरकार को किसी गवर्नमेंट ने कोई टैक्स लगा दिया, से कोई पंजाब की या इसकी तमिलनाडु की गवर्नमेंट कोई टैक्स लगाती है, it has the right to place a tax, but the central government through MMDRA act can say no government in the country will impose any kind of tax on minerals, तो वो हटा सकती है. So the court did not limit the state's power to tax minerals under to entry 50. It held states also had the power to tax land and mines and quarries located, all types of lands covering everything over the land, and this will not be affected by MMDRA act. So another development that has happened. Now the issue is what Justice नागरथना has said that what this will bring, और ये पार्ट यहाँ से पढ़ने के बजाय ये पार्ट यहाँ से पढ़ना, ये पार्ट यहाँ से पढ़ना, ये बहुत अच्छा लिखा हुआ है. Where is this? See, Justice Nagarthana said this was result in a mineral development in the country in an uneven and haphazard manner, because सारे states एक दूसरे के साथ compete करने लग जाएंगे for this sensitive market, and it will be a race down to the bottom. Then it would create an unhealthy competition between the states to drive additional revenue, and consequently steep uncoordination, and even increase the cost of minerals. So all of this will also happen. And then read this last part also कि parliament को फिर से इधर step in करना पड़ेगा. So this is an important development, and that's why I've given so much of time on this particular development. ठीक है. Then top 500 firms likely to get quota for interns based on the CSR spend. Students from IIM, IIT, CS, wards of government staff to be excluded. So read about this particular line, and anyways we are going to read about this Paris and stuff. Now, government took 5 decades to see the mistake of banning staff from RSS. Madhya Pradesh High Court, we have already read this particular news and the developments that now with the office memorandum being amended, now the government says that you can become a member of RSS while being part of government services. Then, now, why Olympics will be the most climate friendly? Please read about this particular news. You can use this in your essay ethics, and you can use this in your in fact as an example in multiple places. Now, any particular global event like the FIFA World Cup or the Olympics involves large numbers of players and contingents to move, and then you have so much on infrastructure that you need to create. All of this leads to a huge impact on the climate, on the carbon footprint of that particular place. Now, Paris has vowed to become at least trying that it should be a carbon positive event, and it has done a number of things. First, eating. It has said that I was telling you about 18% of the global GHG is because of the meat and dairy industry. So if you are a non-vegetarian, please turn into a vegetarian. Then transport. Again, transport. Paris will see all these public transport. They're saying that we have made additional cycling tracks, and additional public transport is available. Don't use private cars. Construction. Most of the construction is basically using the already existing sites that they already have. So 95% of the events is in the existing building, so therefore no carbon footprint, and whatever new new building is being created is also through bio-made materials. Then living arrangements, because of the high temperature, now you need the cooling devices, but otherwise there are a lot of natural mattresses and natural places to also hang out there. And it is still not completely eco-friendly because of the sheer fact that lots of people will use will come there, and that aviation fuel that you are going to burn, the transportation, the tourists that you are going to come will create a lot of these this thing. But at the same point of time, this is a very last paragraph is very important, which says that the games are said, the Paris committee has said that whatever we are going to emit, we are going to have some kind of offset. So that means we are going to give money, or we are going to give money for any other field where we can then claim that we help that particular area in reducing the emissions, and therefore we are offsetting it. So it is something like it's a small example कि आप पहले चोरी करो, और उसके बाद चोरी करने के बाद सिंपली आप किसी मंदिर में जाके थोड़ा सा पैसे डोनेट कर दो, सो दैट यू फील गुड अबाउट इट. तो वो फील गुड फैक्टर, गिल्ट फ्री फैक्टर्स है. तो दैट इज़ something that they have done to compensate, and but it doesn't change the reality that we need more than offsetting in any event. But having said that, it is a good beginning. Then another important news, why AI's present and future brings serious environmental concerns. Now, each search that we are doing, by the way, on AI, on ChatGPT or any of these large language models, is 10 to 33 times more energy consuming than a pure Google search, because of this, simply because of the kind of data that AI has to go through, the kind of the kind of nodes that each particular search has go through for it to give you an output. So that all is guzzling a lot of power. So behind all of this is huge amount of power that is required. And if you see, Google's data centers consume 17% more electricity in 2023 as compared to the previous year. And this is just one company. Think about what OpenAI and what others are doing. So they are using enormous amounts of power. In fact, data centers around the world now consume 1% to 1.3% of the entire global electricity demand, and this is only going to increase. Then this is severe for certain countries like Ireland. Now Ireland, why countries like Ireland is important? Because they lie in the northern hemisphere where the temperatures are low, therefore the machines will not get heated so easily. And because a lot of these data centers are in northern countries where temperatures are low, their electricity because all these data centers there, therefore they will require, all of them will require electricity, and 18% of Ireland's electricity actually goes into these data centers. So what is the case with scenario with India? That we will have increased demand, and we would also require water. All these cooling centers also required water. Therefore we need to also plan up AIs so that they can predict the amount of water that will be required, and they can also come in they can give a sustainable solution to this. So this is this. Another news, please read about "You Fight or You Disappear" Burkina. What is happening in Burkina Faso? Then a new regime and old regime. Read about what this new regime. So you should be aware about all these terms, folks. This is very important for prelims point of view. You should be aware about what is new regime, what is old regime, what is long-term capital gains tax, what is short-term capital gains tax. How do you differentiate this? What the government has done in terms of increasing the long-term capital gains tax from 10% to 12.5%, and then increasing the short-term capital gains tax to from 15% to 20%. And then most importantly, what is this STT, as well as when we are imposing this STT on futures and options, what is all of this. So read this particular article, it's important, but even more important is that you should know what these terms are. And best thing is, just put it on GPT and then start searching. So read about this. And then foreign investors have pulled out significant amount of money from India because of this STT and long-term capital gains tax. But at the same point of time, it is the domestic investors which have started investing in India, which have to a certain extent compensated for the fall of the foreign equity holders, the withdrawal of the foreign equity holders. Let's see this, how we see our bodies. Now this is an article with respect to the fact that we had been talking about these miracle drugs that have been coming, that have been now going to be introduced in India. Now there are a few companies which are coming up with these pills. One is Novo Nordisk. If you might have seen, the office of Novo Nordisk is just near this after Shadipur metro station and before Rajendra Nagar metro station. There is a Novo Nordisk office, and which sells the drug called Ozempic for weight reduction. And then you have Saxenda, and then you have Wegovy. So apart from Lilly's Zepbound, now there have been a number of these companies which are offering you this miracle pill. And in fact, this miracle pill, all of them have something called as GLP-1 receptor agonists, which basically stimulate the body to produce more insulin and curb hunger. So they give you a sense of satiation, which is basically equivalent to a bariatric surgery, basically cutting down of the stomach, so that you don't not any more hungry. And if you're not hungry, then you will not eat more. If you're not going to eat more, you're all going to lose a lot of weight. So this is about that particular issue. But at the same point of time, just a second. Yes, so we understand that This is a new development, but the primary goal of all these development was not actually weight loss. It was actually meant for diabetes. But since people found that, oh, this use can be used for weight loss, people immediately transferred that to the primary goal. And it is also said that it gives you a lot of benefits, but there are negative risks because of people who it's like a drug which you have to continue. So people who leave it, suffer from nausea, vomiting, stomach paralysis, depression, and you can easily grow back to your old self. And but such is the economy, such is the looking economy, or so as to fit economy, or people don't want to work out, people don't want to get fit, they just want a medicinal pill for everything. And that's why, for because of this shortcut, the market capitalization of this company called Novo Nordisk is more than the entire Danish economy. So this is what surprises a lot of people. So we need to work more towards other things, and which impact the issue. For example, hormonal imbalances. If you have fat, you have hormonal imbalances, underlying conditions, eating disorders, stress, and mental health issues. So all of this is related to how you eat. Therefore, I keep telling you again and again and again and again that if you are not fit, you are hurting your chances for in preparation of this particular test. Because the fitter that you are, the more positive you are, the more confident you are, your brain is even sharper, and therefore you're going to perform much better. So don't don't go for these weight loss drugs. Go for deep exercises. Then this particular article is not very important, Kamala the American story, which talks about the history of Kamala Harris, and how she has an African American, African Indian lineage, and what kind of measures she has taken in the past. Now, strained friendship is basically Netanyahu's address to the US Congress, and the Democrats had walked off, which basically tells you that not everyone in US, which is the main ally of Israel, is in agreement of what Netanyahu is trying to do. And you can also see so much of protest within Israel with respect to the continuation of the war, and the humanitarian cost that the war has brought about. Then Olympic dreams. You should know about the major players who are representing India, people who are basically expected to win. We hope that we are able to win 10 medals, but at the same point of time, one also needs to see that we have backslid in certain sports. A number of people that were representing the number of people that were representing previously in some of the sports have gone down. So read this particular article. Then I've already sent you this article, Disconnected, a beautiful article which basically talks about the fact that it's not just about how you eat, or you don't smoke, or what you eat, or 8 hours of sleep. Also, what matters, which a lot of aspirants don't do, is they lock themselves in a room, and they prepare in isolation. The idea of D3 is to have a cohort based learning. That's why I keep saying that once a while come to the class, even in your economics optional, come and interact with people. And once we build D3, the way that I'm planning to build this over the next 1 year, is to make it as a community, just like we have these communities for economics honors and now for optional, a big community of people with different tastes and different cultures coming together. And then you don't know where it's like a market where you can meet anyone, and then you can interact with people. All of you are going to prepare for an exam, and then see that who all connects with you. And this is so important. Why, imagine why this is so important. So important that WHO has set up a commission on social connection, and there is a ministry of loneliness established by UK and Japan. So this shows you it's a major problem. And in a digital world where we choose to work away from home, we have everything being delivered at home, and nothing for nothing you need to go out. This is something that a new problem as is coming up. That's why I say go out, interact, be fit. Don't do, yeah, that yoga that you do at home. You can do yoga, but yoga can be done anytime in the day. But going out and cycling, or maybe doing a group activity, playing, is something that will help you a lot in your mental health. Then the next article is weapons of power. It's a beautiful article. It's a complex article. It will take you time to read it, understand, and therefore I would suggest that before reading this particular article, you also go through the GPT version of this particular article. This article talks about James Scott as an author and as a writer, and how he talks about the resistance that has been shown by the people in general. No, he basically says that not all resistance needs to be shown through power. So so for example, there are two kinds of resistance. Now, one resistance is that I am not in agreement with the government, and I'm out on roads creating a revolution, throwing fireballs, and creating ruckus on the streets. That is one kind of revolution that you can create, and such kind of revolution has also happened. But not very fruitful in case of a lot of countries. But at the same point of time, he also says in this book, weapons of the weak. Now take a note of this particular book, weapons of the weak, and find certain anecdotes from this, because when you are going to write about peace, when you are going to write about struggle, in your essay, in your ethics, or in any of your answers, make sure you quote this particular individual, James C. Scott, and the weapons of the weak, which basically says, and it is kind of the philosophy that Gandhi ji also used to have, that what does the weak have? The weak have the power for non-cooperation, not going to the extent of civil disobedience, but at the same point of time, non-cooperation is a good method, and it's a powerful method that has worked in the past as well. So what small people can do is that they can do foot dragging, dissimulation, small sabotage. All of these small things in small forms can act as a resistance, source of resistance, rather than say direct confrontation with the authority, which is probably too strong. Then it also talks about the fact that his work is also contrasted with other people who talk about everyday resistance rather than organized resistance. Then it is also very relevant for subaltern studies. Now, subaltern studies is basically talking about people who are at the marginal levels, and what they can do to basically increase their agency. Then revolutionary versus everyday resistance. So again you have two things. One is that not all resilience takes in the form of revolution. There is a form of non-violent and hidden form of dissent, which is very important. So take note of these things. And people always quote Gandhi, but Gandhi is someone that everyone will quote. How are you separate? You can take the name of Scott and write about this particular book, which is weapons of the weak, and then link to other things. So read about this article. It will take you some time, but it will be an enjoyable article. Then the next article, quality of giving, is basically talking about the philanthropy, the culture of philanthropy in India. And then it says that recently, I think she is the wife of the founder of Infosys. So she's basically said that now the wealthy are now turning towards the country and thinking of strategic investment, philanthropy, where philanthropy is going to help. So this culture of giving has always there been in India. So when you are writing about philanthropy, also trace it back to say something like Vedas or Gita, that yes, we have had a philosophy of giving to the community. And now what has happened is that since a lot of people have become rich, the top 5% is extremely wealthy in case of India. Even if they provide 5% of their annual incremental wealth, it could contribute 75,000 crore rupees, which is 5 times the CSR funds that are available. And that is absolutely needed, because we are going to miss the 17 sustainable development goal by 2030. And the problem comes that the government of India has basically blocked a lot of FCRA certificates. This is something that you need to read from paper number 2. And because of this, the foreign funding of philanthropy has choked down, and therefore we need the Indian partners to step up and fill that particular gap. Then uh, where is this? Uh, it is for the wealthy to do that, but at the same point of time, the elite have also realized that this is as a I mean extreme inequality is not very socially sustainable. But at the same point of time, there is a shift from traditional faith based giving to more strategic and impactful engagement that you need to do. So there are a number of initiatives that have been created. You should note these initiatives. India Climate Change Collaborative, several donors are there, and then there are others as well that are there. For example, Dasra, Satwa, Accelerate India Philanthropy. All of them are basically working in the same field. So, and then back to Paris, 100 years on, you can read this article about that what we have done, the first contingent that we sent to Paris in 1924. So read about this article, and with this our newspaper for the day is over. Just a second. All right, so this was about our day today. Now the announcement that I had for all of you is that tomorrow we are going to meet for the economic survey. It's an open session for all of you. I would like if you come for the session offline and at 5:30 at Mitras. That will be great. If you can't, then you can always join online, but offline is offline, as I keep telling you. So I hope to see you tomorrow at 5:30, and otherwise we meet on Monday. Thank you very much, folks. Bye bye, and have a great